Hello and welcome to Console Shock, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev, and...
Stuart. Stu, yeah.
Stuart.
Stuart.
Stu is normally short for Stuart, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder, do you prefer people to call you Stuart, or...
I think so,
Depends
yeah,
on how familiar, isn't it? Depends on how familiar. You don't want, like, to
yeah.
someone like, oh, it's Stu.
It's the hate for people who don't know me and then they shorten my name. If you know me, I'm fine with that. But you can call me whatever you want. But
I bet your mum still calls you Stuart, though, right? Like Stuart.
Yes, Stuart. Yes, exactly.
You know, I don't know what you're holding or something, but yeah, it's very, if she's, something, if they're angry with you because they use the full name.
Exactly.
My girlfriend. Exactly, yeah. Much like girlfriends, I suppose, kind of do the same thing, don't they? But yeah, we're here during the old coronavirus.
Yeah, the lockdown of 2020. Where
it's
were
like
you?
The Last of Us. We're kind of living it. Well, not literally. That'll be like really bad. But yeah, we're all on lockdown at the moment still. Although before we went on air, we know that this is probably going out a couple of weeks after we're actually recording this, so hopefully things are a tad more laid back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not great, is it? Obviously, there's some really...
It's not great, and just want to say, I think you'll mirror me in what I'm saying here, but, well done to all the doctors and nurses and everyone, and all the people, actually like yourself, Trevor, still working to keep everything going, and also the people delivering food and working in supermarkets. That's I'm sure they're not being paid £1 million a year or anything, but they're working hard in supermarkets, making sure I don't know, you can get eggs, you can get milk, you can get
toilet roll,
all the essentials in life, and just well done to them. So
I'm sure it's been said a lot, but it really puts it into perspective. Like, video games aren't really that important in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly, they're not. No, and
I bet you guys are not working in the shop, though, right? I bet you guys are not working in the old shop. I bet there was a lot of
exactly. Dan's closed it down.
Around.
He's closed it down for maybe another few more weeks. So
is he all right? Is everything all right on that side of the shop and everything? And
I believe so. I've not spoken to him recently, but I do know he has sort of closed it down. But I think the idea of the podcast is to give people a little bit of, we'll go off the lockdown and all of that now in a second or two, but it's just an hour of a bit of inane sort of computer game chat, and feel free to tweet us and comment on the video and stuff like that. And we always try to get back to sort of most of the comments and stuff. So just I don't know, get your mind off it and have a listen to us ramble on about computer games for an hour.
There's an appeal, isn't it, to two like weird dudes. Well, I'm certainly weird. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Talking about probably inaccurately stuff about the old video games, really. Talking about ones we grew up with, so we're a little bit curmudgeonly in that sense, I suppose. But what we say we do mention current stuff, but I can imagine the retro stuff. I think is probably we always make joke about we need to get through an episode without mentioning the Amiga.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
We've failed already.
We've lost that one already. Yeah.
We failed straight away. You mentioned that bloody Amiga, which to kids probably is a very bizarre, ye old, wedge-shaped doorstop-looking thing with some keys on it, or it looks like it's just an oversized keyboard like I have on my laptop. That's what that is probably to most kids. Although in our last episode, we did talk about stuff that is crazily older than us. That the second generation of video games. Did exactly. You go out and get yourself a Coleco?
No.
Oh, okay, pretty conclusive. Anyway, I'm actually still trying to get a hold of a 2600 at the moment. I'm bidding for some on the eBay. Don't know why I said that in a German accent, but yeah. So hopefully that'll sort itself out. One sort of thing to add to that, actually, the second generation episode, episode 62. Go and listen to it if you haven't already. This is episode 63. I didn't mention that at the start of the intro, so sorry, guys. Well, you could just see in the name of the episode and all that, really, can't you? It's
Exactly.
probably redundant. But yeah, as a sort of an appendum, whatever you call it, when you put an extra little chunk of something that you forgot to do last time around.
Addendum.
Cross between an appendix and a
Trev, you got to be Pacific about this.
Pacific, yeah. You got to be pacifistic about this.
Yeah, you got to be Pacific.
One thing that I probably needed to emphasize a bit more is the controllers. Yeah, we did talk about that a lot. Obviously, the 5200 was very famous for sort of breaking, controllers breaking, and all that sort of stuff. And you got the Coleco, which kind of has an okay controller, but probably the one that's, and they are big factors in what makes one console preferable over the other, weirdly enough. And to be honest, the Atari 2600, probably, even though it's the oldest of the ones that we talked about, it's got the best controller.
Yeah.
And probably an additional thing, if we're just not just talking about the default kind of iconic sort of joystick that you got with it, you can plug in other controllers. So, you know, if you really feel you need a bit more of an accurate, I don't know about accurate, but maybe just a different feel that kind of might be better suited to certain games. Like some people say, like Pac-Man is a bit better with a joystick because you're kind of doing more, you know, more broader movements, more clearly defined movements, which help with the, you know, moving up and down, left and right. If you want to do more of like, you know, a shoot 'em up or something a bit more twitchy, then you probably want a D-pad. But you can do that with a 2600. You can just pop in a Mega Drive controller and it works. You can't really do that.
You also had the what's it called? The ones on like a little wheel. So they were great for games like Breakout and and stuff like that.
Controllers.
Paddle.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got those as well. But when you look at the other consoles, you know, like the Coleco, you can plug other controllers in. It's got the 9-pin, like, or 6-pin. Is it port? You're missing the keypad, the funny little, you know, telephone buttons. So that you might run into issues there. And the Intellivision, you can't even do it anyway. They're hardwired into the unit, so you can't do anything there. And the 5200, which is in that weird, probably with the Coleco, in that weird, very late second gen era when it's almost bleeding into the subsequent generation. They have funny little. Well, the 5200 has a proprietary port, and it's got the telephone keypad nonsense going on, so you can't just whack in any old controller. So out of all of them, the 2600 wins kind of almost by default. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm not actually a fan of those original Atari joysticks. I find them quite sort of stiff and a bit awkward to hold.
They are, yeah. I mean, I'd go down the route of if you want to get that authentic feel, it's something like a zip stick or something, sort of one of the Amiga joysticks, because that'll work in a very similar way, and it's probably a little bit more. I remember that I think they're a little bit too short. They're not particularly comfortable.
Yeah, the button's on the wrong side, so you can't
exactly the button's on the wrong side. So then, if you actually have a zip stick, or I'm sure you got one of those lying around or something like that, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, so that sort of takes a bit of getting used to, but even that is still better than a janky sort of weird little dial with some, like, you know, keypad buttons. Although I'm sure there's people screaming at us saying the Intellivision was freaking amazing and the best controller ever. You should literally die. As someone that's didn't grow up with that, but again, we've talked about how some people absolutely hate the N64 controller.
I think it's revolutionary. I think it's an amazing controller.
I really like it, but probably quite biased because I kind of grew up with it. I had an N64.
The thing is, if you put that in someone's hand today and you say go and play Turok, they're going to have a very, very difficult experience.
Yes, exactly. That's probably what they mean.
100%. But if you actually look back at the time, it was a revolutionary controller, and it did absolutely an amazing job. And it could have been built a little bit better. Those those new controllers that are based on the Hori sort of design. They look more like
Fighter, the retro fighter,
retro fighter ones. They're the ones. Now they, to
Did
me,
you buy
actually,
one? You bought one of them?
I did buy one, yeah, and that to me is an improvement over the original one.
Yeah,
but I would still say the original controller is absolutely great. And then I know some people are really just don't like it, and it's a lot of hate goes to it. But I think it's a great controller.
obviously we've got to think about the context where it was sort of a teething sort of problem with for games going into the third dimension, so the controllers had to kind of adapt to with that. And the regular sort of D-pad and sort of 6 buttons didn't sort of cut it for a lot of those games. So Nintendo kind of dived in head first and came up with the N64 controller. But yeah, I mean, I've had lots of weird conversations with people on Facebook. Like I'll probably mention it on our N64 episode. But I know there's one guy who absolutely insisted that anybody could just start playing GoldenEye. Kids would love it straight away. And I think he was annoyed that people would say to him, like, I don't get why people say, GoldenEye's aged badly. What are you talking about? It's amazing. It's an awesome game. And he was like our age, probably late 30s, early 40s. But I sort of got in an argument with him because I was like, well, yeah, I kind of see why. Because, put a kid, not even a young kid, like probably someone in their early 20s who wouldn't have really known the N64. They would probably only know it as this retro old Nintendo console that people bang on about. Sit them in front of it and give them the controller, give them GoldenEye. They would probably hate it. The controls would be weird. They wouldn't have 2 sticks to use. They would absolutely hate it. The frame rate is super low. It's jerky. They just wouldn't like it.
That fog in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And I was sort of explaining that to him. And he was like, no, they would still love it. They would get the gameplay. It would shine through. The gameplay would shine through. And it's like, yeah, there is obviously still really good gameplay, but there's a lot of stuff to wade through to get to that. You would have to take. I remember like playing Mario 64 for the first time, and that was like it took me ages to get used to an analog stick. But we're all going through that together at the same time at that point in time. But I know people like my girlfriend cannot get used to using 2 thumbsticks at the same time. Even though that's been a common interface now since. There's obviously the PS1 had the dual shock controller, but I don't think it was really until like the PS2 really and the Xbox that it became really super standard. But yeah, it's just she finds it really difficult to control a camera as well as move your sort of dude around on the screen. It's subjective, but at the same time, some designs are genuinely flawed, I think, aren't they? So yeah,
I remember always had a big thing for PC games because I could always do the keyboard and mouse combination. It just felt right to me. And then it was, I can't do this 2 stick stuff. And now I'm actually the opposite. 2 sticks on a controller, that feels natural to me. And it was maybe 6 months ago, I started playing CSGO. I thought, I'll download that, see if it works on my computer that's not really designed for gaming. And I was just going all over the shop. I was, hold on. Just didn't have much control. I kept on, it didn't feel right. And, I'll get used to it, of course. But I'm actually now, the 2 sticks that's the way I like to sort of, control games. It just feels very natural.
Well, so you were playing CS:GO with a controller, or was that with
keyboard and mouse?
Right, yeah.
So I went back to playing keyboard and mouse, and it just didn't feel right at all. It just, it was something about, could I strafe to left and right, or when I was turning, or I was doing something wrong, but I could get round, and and I had a few kills or whatever, but I wasn't quite clicking.
It isn't intuitive at all. A PC gamer that plays deathmatch, Call of Duty, and all that all day, every day, would absolutely swear by keyboard and mouse, and it's true because it is literally more accurate. There's no argument.
Oh, yeah, it's a hell of a lot more precision with it.
Yeah.
But then for me, as a guy who's not as young as he was, and I think, actually, I don't play competitive with a keyboard, not competitive, but online with a keyboard and mouse. I'd just get completely owned. I'd be pointless. So actually, I prefer doing. We could get on to obviously with the lockdown and everything what we've been playing, and so I've been going back and doing quite a few games. But twin sticks works absolutely perfectly. Love it.
I think with PC gaming with keyboard and mouse, the big thing for me with why that isn't completely practical, even though everyone bangs on about how accurate it is, and we're not arguing that. It's just difficult to do it from like a sitting on a sofa kind of setup. I mean, I play most of the games I play are on the PC, but I use a 360 controller. Most all PC games support the 360 controller. I don't play online competitively, so I've got to worry about getting, having to train hard with the keyboard and mouse to be able to keep up with everybody else. So that's not a factor for me. I could just sit back, chill out, go through the single player and whatever game, and I can just use the 360 controller to do that. And it's just easy. There are ways of, there is like lap boards and like the Corsair lap.
I've seen I've seen what's his name, Linus Tech Tips. He has a kind of like, it looks like a sort of a dinner tray or something.
It's like a cushion table thing, yeah.
Yeah, with a keyboard on one side and then like a little space where you have the mouse on the other. I actually thought, that looks like quite a good little setup. But then, I don't want to have a PC in my living room, and I'm fine with my Xbox One, PS4 and stuff. I'm not looking for anything else really.
Yeah. I mean, so there are solutions for that, but I still think that's still a lot of junk that you've got to have on your lap in the, if you are sort of PC gaming in the living room. I'd rather just have a 360 controller, which I prefer to the Xbox One controller. So yeah, I'll just rather do that. And all the games are compatible and have the correct button prompts and everything. So, and you can use a DualShock 4 now on PC if you want to. So yeah, obviously, you have to have a keyboard and mouse if you're going to be playing online multiplayer. But if not, you could quite happily play those games with an Xbox 360 controller. And it's obviously great for emulators as well, that sort of controller. But yeah, obviously, we are in this lockdown situation. So hopefully by the time this goes out, things might have eased a little bit. But right now, it means obviously spending a lot more time from home. And, people like us, that probably means you'll get to play some games more than you would have done normally. So what does that mean for you in terms of, have you got a backlog that you've always had and now you're trying to do it, or?
A huge backlog of bloody boxes and boxes of games and stuff. But so since I've been, first working from home and then been furloughed. So I'm not actually working from home at the moment. Hopefully this will only be a month, maybe two. I completed the end of Halo 2, which is an absolutely cracking game. It's so much harder than Halo 1, Halo 3, ODST, Halo 4, Halo 5. It just seems such a harder game. And I was just
try knocking down the difficulty.
Well, I always do them on normal, but I don't know. I feel if I'm doing it on easy, I'm kind of cheating. And normal is on some of the games is quite easy, but I completed that. The next game I played was, have you played a game called Kona? Kona? No. It's one of those walking simulators.
What, an RPG?
No, it's you basically just dropped off in this town. You go in there to solve a crime. It's based in 1970s Quebec, and you're walking around this deserted town trying to find clues.
Jesus, that sounds niche.
Yeah, and I got really into it actually.
Sounds like Myst, like a modern version of Myst.
Basically, it's like something like Monkey Island. You've got to go everywhere, work out all the clues, work out where it's telling you to go, and then so I really enjoyed that.
You always try. I mean, though that's a genre you really are into. 1970s Quebec-based murder mysteries. If someone brings them out, you're all over it normally.
Honestly, I can't get enough of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't get enough of them.
It's an entire subgenre.
So I completed that game, absolutely loved it, and then I went back to Grand Theft Auto: The Lost and Damned. Do you remember the expansion, the DLC,
The
Lost and Damned?
Tony and the Lost. I've started the Lost and the Damned, and I've got about 10% in, and I've kind of got bored and went off and did something else. But it's pretty good from how far I got on it.
Well, that was it. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It felt like I'm traveling around the city, so it felt like I was out. So, and I completed that this morning, and then I started playing a game. Actually, my girlfriend got me this for Christmas. She bought me a great big pile. She used to work for PlayStation. They have like sales and stuff where you go there and you buy all like the promo games, and you give a little bit of money to charity. So she thought, I'll buy a few for Stuart. So she brought me 5 PlayStation 4 games.
FIFA 09, FIFA 10, FIFA 11 and FIFA 12.
I think I probably mentioned this before, but she bought me 5 PlayStation 4 games, and 4 of the 5 games are all VR games. So, and then one of them was Until Dawn. So I was like, that's cool. I'll put that game in. You got me for Christmas. So I've put in Until Dawn, and actually it's
very scary.
Yeah, it's quite a scary game, but it's like one of those sort of teen horror movies, but it's a game. And I'm actually, I don't know.
Is it the VR version or just the regular?
No, I haven't got VR.
Right, yeah, it's just the regular. That's the whole point on VR as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got 4 VR games if you want them, Trev, because I know you've got a VR. You're welcome to have them.
I'd be delighted if you're not going to have them, but I don't play it that often, to be honest. I mean,
well, if you had these games, you would.
That's probably a good point. I mean, I've got like I've got like the demos that came with it. I've got Batman Arkham VR. That was great. I completed that. And
I've got them right here actually. So Here They Lie, Battlezone, Robinson, The Journey, and Eve Valkyrie.
Oh, that was apparently quite cool. Yeah.
There you go. You're welcome to have those, and they're all the promo.
You can't come over and give them to me, though, unfortunately.
No. I'm afraid not. You're welcome to drive them down here. I can leave them outside.
Just leave them out.
I'll leave them out on the road, and So I'm really enjoying that, and also I've set up my Wii U. Myself and my girlfriend have done a little bit of multiplayer party games and stuff.
Does she actually play anything? Does she play any games?
No.
And you drag her onto a
plays on a phone and stuff.
Yeah,
but no real gaming. So we had a bit of fun playing some sort of party games on the Wii U, and the Wii U's a good little machine actually. I'm enjoying it.
So how long have you had that for? The Wii U?
I bought that 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Oh, right.
But it's been all packed away for the last 2 years. So I've set it all up again, and I don't know, sort of cleaned off the controller. And
it's a funny one, yeah, because I had it. When did I get? I think I got mine around 2013 or 14, because I was very dismissive of it for the first year it was out. I played it like we did a whole episode on the Wii U, so we're not going to go into it too in depth of the our general sort of thoughts on it. But I played it once, like a couple of days after it came out, around a mate's house. It was in, I guess, November 2012, wasn't it? I think it came out, which is like, God, that's nearly 10 years, pushing 10 years now, which is insane. And yeah, I was completely unimpressed by it. I thought it was crap. I thought it was just a Nintendo Xbox 360, really, and there was nothing to be impressed about with that. But then I sort of reevaluated it after seeing the games that came out in the subsequent year and a bit or something, and I thought, you know what, I might pick one up. So we actually got one, I kind of have waves of dipping in and out of it. It's not a console that I've played solidly for years. I've had it for years, but I just dip in and out of it for I sort of play it loads for a few like a month, and then I won't play it again for like a year or something.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because I go in and then I'll maybe, if I've got a bit of spare cash, and I'll buy some eShop games for the Wii U that aren't really, you can't play on anything else. Or there's some like Wii U game that I think, sod it, I'll actually try and play it. So yeah, I have little spates of probably not. I don't probably go a year without playing it. I'd say I'll play it solidly for a couple of weeks, and then I won't do anything for 3 months, and then I'll play it again. But it's always out, So yeah.
I mean, for me, I've still got a few more games that I want to pick up for it. I've got pretty much not the whole catalogue, but all the games I want. But I'm still looking for. I think there's a Yoshi game on there as well. I want to get Pikmin 3, Paper Mario. There's still a few more. Actually, I need to get those, and I feel like I've got to sort of all the games I want for it. But yeah, no, it's a cracking sort of machine, and I'm playing. Well, I did like 1 or 2 levels earlier on of New Super Mario Brothers Wii U version.
Oh yeah,
that's a good little game actually.
Hard as balls as well when you get to the later levels.
Oh, is it really?
Try and do the Wii, the Super Luigi Wii U. Yeah. That is like even harder. But yeah, so it's like Super Mario 3D World is like not even like 1% as hard as Super Mario New Super Mario Bros. U. But it's still it's a good game. Yeah, it's definitely a good game. I think the thing is, I find the controls are even more slippery than normal Mario.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The amount of times where I've maybe just held the D-pad down for a split second longer than I should have done, and I get punished for it. Seems, and I do feel there's a few cheap deaths in it. I know that Mario always has had cheap deaths. But yeah, there is probably a few more than the normal, because that's probably a way of them padding out the. You know what really annoys me? It's the ridiculous save system. Like you can't really save when you complete a stage. It doesn't save straight after that. It only saves like fully until you've got to like the next castle. So like
that's what it did on Super Mario World,
Super Mario World, yeah, and it was annoying then. And they fixed it in Super Mario World 2 on Yoshi's Island because it's saved after every stage, which is how it should be. But it kind of does that. There is a weird thing where you can do a quick save, but that only is if you're like going to leave the game completely, or let you do that. It's really weird. Yeah, so that kind of is a little bit annoying. Whereas every other Mario game pretty much lets you just save when you finish a world. So it kind of just means you'll get through 4 stages, get to like the castle, die in the castle, and you get flung all the way back to, if you lose all your lives in there, you get flung all the way back to 4 stages earlier, and you got to go through all them again, which is like really, really frustrating. So yeah, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, shut up, you're an idiot. You need to just get good at it or something." But yeah, I'm just like, I haven't got time these days. Well, I guess at the moment we do, I suppose. But generally, I just want to be able to power through a game, in a decent amount of time, so I can move on to the next one. I'm not a kid anymore. When we only had 2 or 3 games that we had, with us, so a game could take ages to complete then, because it was ages before you got your next one. But yeah. Now I just want to kind of just have a decent, I like to feel like I've achieved something in a game after an evening, playing it for an hour or something. Whereas a game like that, you could end up spending a couple of hours and then, just keep dying in the castle because of one little bit, and you just won't, and you'll have to go all the way back, 4 stages earlier over and over again. And it's just like, it's very frustrating. But yeah.
So what have you been playing in the lockdown?
Weirdly, since we've also had more time at home that I've been working from home. Something that I've always wanted to get properly set up is I've got I was given a PlayStation 3 test unit. And for anybody, I think I mentioned it before, but we're going to go into a bit more detail now. But basically, developers, PS3 developers, game studios would have a debug unit which is or a test unit. Looks like a normal like PS3. In this case, a 60 gig fat PS3, original PS3. Except it's got the PlayStation 3 logo, that sort of older one that was in that Spider-Man movie font, which I always thought looked really cool. It's got test like written just underneath that in the same kind of logo font type. And basically they were used by studios to test, games while they're being developed. There's extra sort of functionality that's in the menus, and they don't connect to a PSN at all. Okay. With the default firmware that they have, which is different to the retail firmware, they don't connect to PSN. And there's some extra tools to help, software developers debug their software while they're making it. But what I've done with it, the biggest appeal of one of those units for me is they're region free.
Isn't the PlayStation 3 region free anyway, or
for PS3 games it is?
Yeah. Okay.
When you have when it comes to backwards compatibility, so those sort of fat 60 gig PS3s can play PlayStation 2 games. As in the discs, not just the classics you buy off the PSN store. The actual discs, pretty much compatible with like nearly 100% of the library, PS2 library, and all the PS1 games. But normally a 60 gig that also was backwards compatible with all those, it will only be backwards compatible with those PS2 and PS1 games that are from the region that you're in.
Right, okay, yeah.
The PS3 games, that you could play them from all over the world, but PS1 and 2 games are locked to like PAL if obviously we're in the UK. But this test unit, it'll play anything, which is awesome. So that's the appeal for that. But it's also, I've already got a PS3 Super Slim that's mine like regular PS3, and I'm going to sort of keep that as a regular PS3 that's could be used normally with all the restrictions that comes with. But this test one, as it was sort of, I was lucky enough for it to be given to me. I've actually just put some custom firmware on it, so it's now jailbroken as it's called, and I actually did the act of jailbreaking it quite a few months ago, not long after I got it, actually a matter of days after I got it, but I haven't really done a big effort of trying to get any stuff on it in terms of games and stuff, because the great thing about a custom firmware jailbroken PS3 is you can stick you can upgrade the hard drives in the retail ones, the regular ones, but in this I've stuck like a 1 terabyte hard drive in it, and on that, with the custom firmware PS3, you can actually rip your like PS1, 2, and 3 games to the hard drive.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah, that's great. So you can pop your own games on there that you've already got. It'll obviously play disk images that have been downloaded through other means, shall we say? So ISO sort of files of PS1, 2, and 3 games. You can just get those running on there as well. You can just copy them over to the hard drive. They can just live on there, which is very cool. And it's also really useful for, you can sort of basically get PSN games, those sort of games you can only buy from the PlayStation Network store. And obviously, we don't condone piracy because a lot of those games are still available on the PSN store and you can buy them. But there are PSN games that are perhaps only available in Japan, so you're sort of locked out of those. Some of you might be able to actually set up an account on Japanese PSN. You may be able to download them, but certainly not. It's not an easy thing to do, that's for sure. And there are actually some PSN games that have just disappeared completely. You cannot get them anymore because a license has run out. It's a like a game based on a movie, but then the developer of the game don't no longer have the rights to the movie license anymore, so they can't keep selling the game. Obviously, that's fine with a disc-based game. That will just always be around for you to play. But a digital download that just lives on Sony's PSN network, they obviously have to get rid of that, because they can't be selling it. So people have saved copies of those games, and they're obtainable on various sites on the interwebs. I'm not going to tell you where. But yeah, so that's actually kind of the coolest thing about it, weirdly, for me. I mean, do you buy like games off Xbox Live or PSN? I know some people, like Adam Koralik, is like super against digital downloads. He refuses to get them, but there are some games that just don't come out on a disc that are quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always, obviously, I prefer to have things on discs. I think that's a much better system. Just because once you finish a game, you can then sell it, or
definitely
you'll have it for eternity or whatever. But still, I mean, when I put in Until Dawn earlier on, it had to download something like 11 gigs of extra data.
Yeah.
So, and all the little patches. So I'm actually thinking, what happens when all these servers are turned off and I've got the disc of the game? A lot of the games have, day one patches, and we've harped on about that before. To go back to actually what you asked me, I do buy games on the Xbox place or whatever it's called,
Marketplace.
Xbox Marketplace. I actually talking about walking simulators. I bought a game called Firewatch. That was in a sale a little while ago.
Like, is that one of those like because there's those like sort of indie sort of games that are on there as well, not necessarily just AAA.
and exactly, and so I'm really looking forward to playing Firewatch. It got like amazing reviews, and so I bought that for sort of $2.99. I probably bought it about sort of 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm right. Okay, obviously I'm stuck at home now. I'm going to sort of smash through that. It's going to be an amazing story. So I'm looking forward to playing that. So there are sort of plenty of games I do buy, and also I haven't mentioned I did go travelling at the start of March or the end of February, start of March.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Luckily, we managed to get home. We were worried we wouldn't be able to. But so we went to Los Angeles and went out to New Zealand for a wedding. Now, for me, actually, I did download a few games for the Switch. So I downloaded Doom 3 and Doom 64, and they were
cool,
they're actually pretty good, and they only cost like £3 each. So for me, it's like a bit of a no-brainer. I've always wanted to play Doom 3 especially, so got that on there, and it's like a survival horror game. It's more like a Resident Evil game, but anyway, than an actual Doom game.
I mean, that's a console where the buying digitally is actually really good in more ways than one, because you can have all these games just on your Switch. You haven't got to take a bunch of cartridges around with you. They're all ready to go.
Exactly. So for me, actually, the Switch and the online store is actually a bit of a sort of a perfect combination. And but if I have the choice, I'll still buy the game on cartridge, unless it's $2.99 in the store and £30 in game or something. I'm probably going to go down the sort of the cheaper of the two routes. But new AAA games are things like Luigi's Mansion, Mario Kart, Zelda, Animal Crossing or whatever. I would buy those on cartridges.
Yeah, I think I've said before that, like on the Xbox 360, I've kind of bought a lot of the marketplace games on there, mainly because I know that potentially many of these will go away and you won't be able to get them again. And also the fact that although my thoughts on this have changed a little bit recently, but like there's a fear that they'll shut down like the Xbox 360 networking features, or the Xbox 360 like network infrastructure will get switched off like the original Xboxes was. Although now, because the Xbox, the new Xbox that's going to come out, the Series X, because that's going to obviously still be backwards compatible with 360, and those 360 games are going to have like their multiplayer sort of kept going. That might mean that even on like a real Xbox 360, because it won't. I don't think it's much of a big issue for them to keep the 360 like internet functionality live. They probably have a bunch of like virtualized environments on servers that just keep that running. So there's very little that needs to be done on it.
Well, I was,
But yeah,
I
so I
was
think
gonna
that might keep that alive for a long time potentially.
because when you go onto the Xbox One, you're on the Xbox One marketplace, and you go searching for whatever game you want. It's quite interlinked. It just goes, oh, if you type in Star Wars, it will show you the Jedi Fallen Order, which came out before Christmas. It will show you, the Force Unleashed or something, which came out on the 360, and then it will show you Xbox games. So I
Yeah,
actually think it's quite good. It's more. I think what they're doing with the Xbox One or Xbox Series X is you go on there and go, hey, come on here, and it's got 5,000 games that you can download. All of Xbox One, all of Xbox 360, all of Xbox, and I'll be, oh wow, actually, yeah, that's really good. And as long as they almost get their pricing right, and I'd be interested to see games like I know Uno that came out on the 360. I imagine people are constantly buying that, and they'll
exactly. Yeah,
play it on the Xbox One, and they go, oh yeah, have a great game. They're talking with their friends, and
yeah. So
be an Xbox One version.
yeah, I mean, it makes me think that a lot of those games they might not, be interested in making an Xbox One version if the 360 one just will continue to work anyway, and kind of serves a purpose, and people are still buying it. So they'll keep those files active and live, and there's no real reason to sort of make a point of killing off the Xbox 360's ability to connect to these stores. Because it might be quite a trivial thing just to have that running, really. Because I use my Xbox 360 loads. It's one of the consoles I play the most, still to this day. So, I go on it a lot and look at the marketplace and see if there's any deals on some of the games that I'm kind of got as my, ones that I'm watching to see if they go on sale. But yeah, so with my PS3 that's jailbroken, I can kind of get those games that are no longer on PSN. I mean, some really good examples are Outrun Online Arcade. That's basically Outrun 2 or Outrun 2006.
Yeah, it's a cracking game, that one.
Yeah, really good game. It doesn't got quite all the features of Outrun 2006, but that's obviously a brilliant game. And it's just like a PS3/360 version of that. The graphics have been improved, so they are now 720p. Not dramatically different, but they do look a lot sharper and just a lot nicer and cleaner. Obviously, it looks a lot better running through, a PS3 and a HDMI connection than perhaps if you're using the original Xbox Outrun 2006 going through a component cable. And you can actually use that on a 360, that game, but obviously it's a little bit glitchy because it's running it through its emulation of the original Xbox. Whereas this is with an actual, version that was made for the PS3. And that got delisted from PSN because of the Ferrari license run out. And that was several years ago now. So that game has just been unavailable. And there's been no updated version of that game released since then. So, yeah, that's one that I can now play thanks to the fact that, it's been pirated. And, you can run it on a modified PS3 like my one is now. And also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time reshelled.
That was taken off, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was taken off. That was kind of a remake of Turtles in Time. A lot of people kind of crapped all over it a little bit, but I think it's actually not bad. I quite enjoyed it. But yeah,
the Simpsons arcade game as well. That was taken off.
Yeah, so there was Turtles in Time that was taken off. Simpsons arcade game. I think the X-Men original Konami arcade game that's been taken off. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That got taken off. A lot of these are other ways to play these games, but a lot of the time, these sort of PS3 versions or Xbox 360 versions, often a lot of these examples you've just said were available on both, and they're both gone now for both systems. They've also had a lot of quality of life improvements. They've in some cases they've remade the graphics, like with Turtles in Time, so it's a fundamentally different game. Or they've just added new features to, over the ROM of the arcade that you're not necessarily going to get from playing it the original in an emulator, or if you've got maybe the Dreamcast version or something. If we're talking about Marvel versus Capcom, So they're genuinely worthwhile sort of games that are no longer you can no longer get.
Because for me is you know, I've always been against modding your console, and someone on YouTube I'm not going to mention, and he's a really nice guy, but it always drives me insane. Is I've got this machine, and now I've modded it so I can play every Saturn game, every N64 game, and every SNES game on something, and I'm like, and to me it's like, right, okay, if you want to play all these games, just do it on your PC. Why does every machine need to be modded? Why does every machine you've got need to be modded to play every SNES game?
Yeah, I mean,
to me that seems absolutely pointless.
Yeah, I mean, something like a Dreamcast, for example, where you can kind of mod those and you can play like SNES ROMs and Mega Drive ROMs. I wouldn't bother doing that with something like that because, or even like I've seen people try and sell PS2s with hard drives in them that are 10, or every SNES and Mega Drive go, because I know like the experience isn't going to be as good as me playing those. If I just wanted to play an emulator and I didn't want to play on the original consoles. One, I've got the original consoles for the most part, so I'll just tend to play it on the real thing. And two, if I want to play it in an emulator on something that isn't the original, I'd rather do it on a PC, like you're saying, because an emulated Mega Drive game on a PS2 just isn't going to be as good as playing on my PC. It's still going through an analog video output. That's not much better than a Mega Drive was anyway. It's not going to be as easy to use as like RetroArch on a PC. It's not going to have as many of the features. So I'm completely with you on that. I don't get that at all. Whereas on a PSP, I can understand that because
actually that was and I've modded, or I say I modded. Someone did it for me, so I can play backups or copies of games on my PSP, and I don't really want to actually play Super Nintendo games on there, to be fair. But so I play lots of games on the PSP that are just hard to find, and sometimes it's quite good just to go to work and you're sitting on the train, and then on there you got about 10 games, and just saves you carrying around the little discs, which are quite easy to get broken. And and things like that. And now is I can say I bought my fair share of PSP games, and they're not really available anymore. So okay, I'm pirating, but they're a lot harder to get hold of these days.
I think something like a PS3 with custom firmware on it. You also got. I mean, like PS2 games are very difficult to emulate on a PC, and also having quite a large library would take up a lot of space. Whereas, with a PS3, especially one that's backwards compatible with the PS2, you could just get all the ISOs that you want to have on there, and they'll all run pretty much flawlessly as if you're using a real PS2. Plus, you've got all your PS1 games. You're using a dual shock controller that's wireless. That's pretty much exactly the same as what the original DualShock on the PS1 and 2 was, with the added benefit of potentially you could play those PlayStation Network games. At the moment, there's obviously a bunch of them that aren't available anymore. Might be in the not too distant future that you might not be able to get any of them because they might just shut off support for PS3 on the PSN store, like they've done with the PSP, and they'll probably do that with the Vita at some point soon. So that's another way to get them on there. So you've got a really good experience of several aspects of the PlayStation history and sort of world that you can really recreate to the same degree on a PC. So that's where it's a great advantage having a jailbroken PS3.
Exactly. And talking about the PS2, if you're watching, I don't know, Metal Jesus Rocks or something on, and he goes, oh, here's a hidden gem. It's this game, Hack 2.0 on the PlayStation 2. Oh, you want to try that, do you? Right, okay. You need, I don't know how much it is, but, you need to spend 50 quid on this game.
Yeah.
Okay, right. £50. Oh, my God. That's I might not like that game. And I might not have £50 to spend. Actually, I probably want to spend that. I don't know, on a brand new game or something. And so that's where I think it is actually this not a form of piracy, but archiving games or whatever is. I think it's actually sort of pretty good, and it's a good way of playing a lot of these old games. And you'll probably speak to a developer and say, "Oh yeah, I downloaded this game, but I really it's such a great game you did, and I really got engaged with the story. And then I went out and I saw what else you did, and then I went out and brought a PlayStation 4 game that you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I brought the PlayStation 4 version of Hack, even if there is one, but." So I think it's a good way to sort of get these games, which, and even, so many games now on PlayStation 2 are sort of price prohibitive, including games like, I don't know, like Spyro, or like the PS1, like Crash Bandicoot, or...
Well, there's also the argument of, I mean, obviously you can play, they do make, a handful of PS2 games available for you to buy, to download. So if you completely are anti, running ISOs or copies or backups of games, you should only run the originals, or you should go and buy them. You're limiting yourself to whatever Sony sort of allow you to play. Although it's not really necessarily them allowing you.
It's about 3,000 PlayStation 2 games, and probably 2,000 PlayStation 1 games. I think they've got about 2 pages on PlayStation Store of these old
get re-released because of the rights issues. A 20-year-old Turtles game that was really good, will never come out again. In that, unless they rebuild it from scratch with like new assets, because they have to use the new ones. That stuff is just never going to get fixed in any way. Or like if you want to play like the first Gran Turismo, they probably won't be able to re-release that again because of the car. They had the licenses for certain manufacturers that they can't renew anymore.
Exactly.
Or cars that they can't renew anymore. Or there's advertisements that are just, the fact that there's an advertisement hoarding in the game for a company that they no longer have the rights to display. That could mean they can't release the game at all because it's not worth them going in and hiding that asset, and replacing that asset and rebuilding the game. So there are certain situations where they're just not. You're not ever going to have an official option for this. You're limited by what Sony can actually offer you on the store, which is a tiny percentage of what's out there. So a lot of these games will never be there, and also and that goes for the PSN games as well when they get taken down. So it's actually become a necessity in many ways for preserved gaming history in that sense, because the companies don't have the time or the inclination or the desire really to preserve ISOs of games and stuff like that.
No, but if I was I don't know, if I was Capcom, Konami, I know IDOS or Sega, any of these companies, I think they try to do sort of the right thing by getting these games out, and like how many people probably spend $4.99 on Sonic the Hedgehog on Switch? They probably sell sell it 500 a week.
Exactly,
And okay, that's a sort of an income for them that sort of pays off, and that's what I'd like to see. And I'd happily sort of buy them if they're available, because I don't want to start jailbreaking PlayStation 3s or Wii U's. And I mean, I did watch a video today about the Wii U and how to sort of jailbreak it and sort of what you can do with it. And I was like, I need to get a memory card, I need to do this, I need to download that. And then I was thinking to myself, well, God, if I download all the games, I just won't, I find myself not enjoying playing them. If that makes sense. So I'm always one for, I'll never download 100 games and then put them on my machine. So I'll never play them. It's something sort of mentally in my head that I won't enjoy playing them. But if I did modify my machine and I went back and got a game which you couldn't find anywhere else, and then download that one game, I would play that one.
It's funny, yeah, because the Wii is probably, and the Wii U as well, because kind of inherited it. It's probably one of the most jailbroken consoles. I would probably say, the PSP, the Wii, and probably the PS3. Although there's a lot of like Xbox 360s that you can kind of jailbreak, but the process isn't as easy, I don't think, as it is maybe a PS3. I find it quite straightforward to jailbreak a PS3 and also a Wii. But a Wii, that I've got a jailbroken Wii, and it's mainly because there was 3 WiiWare games that they delisted, so I couldn't buy them. I would have bought them if they were still available. But there was like Castlevania, the Adventure Rebirth, Gradius Rebirth, and Contra Rebirth. Is it Rebirth or something? I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, basically remakes of Castlevania, the Adventure, Gradius, and Contra. And yeah, they took those down from the store. So yeah, you can't buy them. The only way to play them is to have a jailbroken Wii, and people that have managed to back up the game, the files for those games, is the only way that you've got to download them and install them on your jailbroken Wii. Is the only way that you can play them, because they're gone. And games like that, there's no guarantee they're ever going to come back. Konami have made their money from them, so they're probably quite happy to think, great, we've done it, bye. It's not like films where they're pretty much, a film can pretty much, film studios, they do make a point of re-releasing old films. Obviously, there's still a lot that only came out on VHS, but I think they're a lot better at keeping that stuff available for people. Yeah. Where games, especially now in this era of online stores and Xbox Marketplace and PSN, it's so much easier for them just to yank a store off a yank a game off the store. And something like Castlevania and Gradius and Contra, I don't really know why they would need to take that off the store, because it's not based on like a movie, or there's no licensing in there, or Konami just decided they didn't want to sell it anymore. So
it just seems ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's just gone from like So the only way you could do it is to pirate it. So they're giving us a choice in that case.
And saying that though, it's the game industry should look at what you just said. Actually, the film industry. If I'm sitting here and unless I do a film podcast, and Trevor, you said to me, "Oh God, there was a film from 1971. It's a real classic. No one ever talks about it." I'll say, "Oh, what's it called, Trev? What's it called?" I'll write it down, and then I'll look on my computer and go, "Okay, it's on Netflix. It's on Amazon. It might not be on Amazon Prime, but I could buy it. Oh, it's on iTunes. I can get it on there." So there's all different ways that I'm pretty sure pretty much most films that I want to watch that I could find. Some obviously I wouldn't be within the subscription that I've got, but I would have to pay for it. But then that's fine.
Yeah, and it's also like, something like those Konami sort of Rebirth games on the Wii, they only really were available for a very small window of time of maybe 5 or 6 years. So, a movie is basically perpetually available, really, a one way or another. And also, even if it never came out on Blu-ray, you've probably got a DVD copy somewhere. Or this would be annoying to track down, but a VHS copy. Like Castlevania Rebirth never came out on a physical medium, so it is gone. It is literally vanished. If you don't know anything about where you can download a pirated copy, and then you're getting that working on a console that can do it, that can run those, you're never going to be able to play that game. And that's kind of pretty sad and a little bit scary. And it'll probably happen. It's going to happen more and more and more, unfortunately, and that's definitely not going away. So yeah,
it also goes back to games. What I watched a YouTube video earlier on, and they were talking about what was it? Mass Effect Andromeda, the PS4 one, the Xbox One game, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I'm playing it on my." PS4 that's not linked to the internet. So I've got the ending which they originally wanted to have. Then everyone kicked up a fuss about it. So then they released an update and they changed the ending or did something to it. They changed it. So the point is, if you buy that game, let's say in 10 years' time, and it doesn't do that update, you're not going to get the new ending
Exactly.
of that game. So you might potentially get the ending. Okay, that he wanted to see the original ending and things like that. But even if you do have the discs in 10 years' time, you'll put them in and it will say, oh, you can only do this, I don't know, half the single player, or they think, oh, hold on, there's problems and there's lots of glitches.
Yeah.
And if that update's not there, and I always go back to, there was a game called Naruto Broken Bond for the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft lost the license to do, I don't know what the story was. But anyway, the point was, if you buy this, like if you bought it on, I don't know, a week after it came out, a little update went boom, 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 and it solved some problem so you could actually finish the game. But if you go and buy Naruto Broken Bond now, that update won't happen because no one has the license or the. It basically that update won't happen. So that game, even if you own the discs or the disc, it is actually impossible to play.
Yeah, and it's also like
Yeah.
you can't even I mean, on PC it's even worse. Like there's tons of games that had DRM. Like Grand Theft Auto 4, it's an absolute ball ache to install it from disk at the moment because
Really.
the disk needs to check the date on your computer. And if the date is if the date isn't within a span of about 3 or 4 years past the release date, it kind of breaks. So, you're trying to install it in 2020. The disk will think that it isn't the release date yet, and it will refuse to install it. And you've kind of got to do all these workarounds to get it working. I mean, you can do it, but to be honest, you might just think, sod it, I'm just going to download the pirated version where the pirate has taken out all the DRM and it just runs, completely without any of that stuff. It's actually forcing people to start, to be able to just install a game that they paid for. You might need someone to like crack it or something just to be able to get it to work. I mean, the amount of times there's been DRM that, is no longer supported. So the games that use it, games for Windows Live, loads of PC games rely on that, and that's broken now.
I mean, the best example was what was it? Max Payne 1 or 2. When that came out, obviously it had some code or some sort of DRM, but then playing it later on more, it was like, oh my god, this is impossible. And so it was found out that someone went into the code, that the actual version that Rockstar was selling years later on Good Old Games or Steam, and he looked in there, and the one they were actually selling was the hacked version of it.
Yeah, they actually took the crack and they actually put it in there, thinking no one would notice or something. But
they couldn't. The actual people who made it, they couldn't work out themselves. How can we actually sell this game in 2019, 2020? So someone with Windows 10 can run it on their PC without having to be a programmer.
Exactly.
Okay, right. Let's just get the hack version, and we'll hide that somehow. But of course, people found out. But I bet there's 101 games or 1,000 games that have, I mean, how do you play these games that are designed for a 32-bit architecture, and then you're trying to play them on a 64-bit machine?
Yeah, I mean it's probably the PC is the best example because it's a nightmare. I mean, recently I tried to get Gears of War 1 installed on my PC, and that was an utter ball ache. It has games for Windows Live.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can get it to work because games for Windows Live, the servers are still running, but it kind of some things are broken and don't work anymore. And that game's only like 2006. It's not like a year old DOS game. fact, it's easy to get DOS games working, because they didn't have DRM a lot of the time. They wanted to check if the CD was in the drive, and you can kind of fairly easily, fake that. But yeah, some of these sort of late 2000s, probably games that are, from that point up until probably still now, the DRM is kind of a ticking time bomb, really. I get why it has to be there. So it's kind of a necessary evil when perhaps, but I mean, good old games sell a lot of. I think pretty much all their games are DRM free, so that means people could pirate the hell out of them if they wanted. But people seem to be happy to buy from them, and I've bought stuff from them. And ideally, that's how it would be for everyone, but that isn't going to happen. And like if Steam goes tits up, a lot of the DRM for that is just you need to be logged into Steam. That goes tits up. All those game installs that you've got won't work. Apparently in their terms of service, if they do go tits up, they'll sort of remove all of the sort of the sort of login requirement for games to be able to work. Or something. Yeah, okay. Who's they're going to do that? If they're all going bust, they're going to be worried about going bust and not. Oh, let's patch all the games for everybody just before we turn the lights down. It's kind of very tentative, and you don't want to rely on that. So yeah, the whole thing is screwed, which is a great way to end.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't worry, the pirates will be there to save us at the end of the day, I think.
Exactly.
Established, so that's a good thing. We can rely on that. Right, Stu, so... presumably everybody has a bit more time on their hands at the moment with the situation we're in. So with that being the case, where would they be able to find all of our shit?
Right, okay, we're on YouTube. Just search Console Shock. You can find all the latest episodes on there. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, podcasts, all of these different podcast clients. Find us on there as well. If you search Console Shock. Also, we've got a website, consoleshock.net. That's really just a way to put up our podcast so they get picked up by everyone. So I keep on getting comments on there about they just don't make any sense. So if you leave comments on there, we probably won't look at them. But you can also follow us on Twitter. So I try to do sort of a post every day, usually about what game I'm playing or arguing with someone and things like that. So yeah, if you search on Twitter for Console Shock, we'd love it if you followed us, and we usually sort of follow back as well and leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. Obviously, we know this is one of the things that you can do very easily from home, and we have been doing it since the beginning. So we're going to keep sort of plugging away. And like you say, you're pretty active on the old Twitter, aren't you, these days? So please feel free to tweet us on there. And yeah, we're going to keep pumping out more of these episodes. So please go through all of our channels that Stu very nicely announced. And thank you for listening. As always, obviously stay safe. Everybody, take care of yourselves with all the stuff that's going on, and hopefully we'll see you on the other side in the next episode. Cheers for listening, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Take it easy.